Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, Kemp.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host Mary Jones.
And Dennis Ling.
Okay, is there a reason you said it that way?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
Then that's not a reason. We didn't know what we were going to do next, and that worked to our advantage, but in kind of a sad way. Val Kilmer died recently after a long illness. He'd had throat cancer, I believe, something like that, and then I guess he got pneumonia. And this is a guy who I didn't know was a good actor because I think my first exposure to him was the movie The Doors, and I was like, well, I want no part of that.
Have you seen The Doors?
No.
Is it on the list?
Oh, we could put it on the list, I guess. Sure, why not?
Yeah, it's early 90s, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be on there.
I just looked at it like, this is just boomer myth-making nonsense, and aren't we all like special shamans or something? And I'm just like,
yeah, man.
I just looked at it and thought, I want nothing to do with that. I mean, I was probably 13 at the time, and it's not like I didn't know the Doors music. My mom's a fan, but I was just like, I don't need to see that. And so I thought, Val Kilmer, I don't need to see that. So I had not seen Top Gun. I had not seen Real Genius. I had not seen, obviously, the film that we're going to watch today, Top Secret.
Top Secret.
You know what turned me around on him? Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
See, I always forget that movie. I remember
movie.
really liking it.
It's a really good movie.
Like, we saw it, I think, in the theater.
Yeah, I don't remember if we saw it in the theater or at like a friend's house who had a very large television. But either way,
It's really big.
He had.
That's what I remember about that movie is how big the screen was.
Our friend Greg has a very large television.
Yeah.
I then went back and I've watched Top Gun, and actually I kind of like Top Gun.
Yeah.
I guess I saw the Batman movie he was in. Was it Batman Forever?
Yeah, I think so.
I can never remember which Batman movie it is. We saw Real Genius for the show, and I love that movie.
Is Tombstone on the list?
We can put Tombstone on the list.
I kind of love that movie.
I've never seen that.
I love him in the movie.
Who is he in the movie?
He's Doc Holliday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw My Darling Clementine many times.
Yeah.
I know that's the same story, sort of. I don't know. Is he as good as Victor Mature?
Yes.
Do you know who Victor Mature is?
Yeah.
You've seen My Darling Clementine, right? Okay. I couldn't remember if you'd seen it with me or not.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it a lot, but yeah. So
yeah, hot take. He's as good as Victor Mature.
Certainly a hot take that, that John Ford movie's good, So yeah, Val Kilmer, I loved Real Genius. We did that for the show. I thought he was amazing in it, actually, because he's like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
But in a way that works better for me than like a Jim Carrey.
And it's hard for like a good-looking guy to be funny.
It is.
Yeah.
Like it can happen. I mean, Cary Grant was very funny, but
but it's so many ways it can go wrong, and some people just pull it off.
Now this is a Zucker-Abrahams-Zucker film, right?
Yep.
But this is from the era when they were still good.
Right.
So that also makes me interested. Again, that's another reason I never watched this film, is because I knew it was Zucker brothers and Abrams, and I thought, well, I saw Naked Gun 2.5, and that wasn't great. Now I have no idea if it actually is better than I remember, but I remember watching it and thinking, this isn't very funny. Those guys must not be very funny, which is why I never saw Airplane. It turns out I have since seen it. We've watched it together. Okay, Airplane's great.
Yeah.
Look, Airplane is extremely funny. I get it. But the funny thing is, when I was like a teenager, I loved the Kentucky Fried Movie. Do you know what that is?
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know. I couldn't remember if we've seen it together, but like I watched that a lot as a teenager. So it's kind of funny that I avoided Airplane because of Naked Gun 2.5. I saw Naked Gun, but there, like Leslie Nielsen, he's just starting to mug too much, and he's like and the thing is, like, I've gone back and I've watched Police Squad. Police Squad is great.
Yep.
It's very funny, and like the deadpan humor is so well done, right?
Yeah, they still had a handle on it. And then they lost it.
They sure did. I only saw the beginning of that Jane Austen's Mafia, and that sucked.
It's interesting when you compare it to like Young Frankenstein, which is still mugging and that kind of thing, but like it's a different kind of humor that they're doing.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it feels very Borscht Belt that the mugging doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I think in part because, you know, the whole ZAZ team, they're a little bit younger. When Mel Brooks is directing, it has a foot in vaudeville.
Yeah.
This kind of older comedy, it works for me better.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's the actors or if that's them or
I don't know.
I don't know what happened, but like eventually they just kind of lost something because like Airplane
how much
is
of that,
perfect.
Yeah, Airplane's fantastic.
It's taking a script, pretty much just doing it straight and getting like the most serious actors possible. You know, like Robert Stack. You know?
I mean, they basically did what Kubrick did with Dr. Strangelove.
It's just weird how humor either works or it doesn't. It's so subtle, whatever it is.
I can't even entirely like nail down what it is, and like to some extent, this is purely like an individual response to it. You know, like I'm complaining about something, other people are going to find hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, like I hate Ace Ventura. I find Jim Carrey incredibly annoying when he's doing comedy, and surprisingly good when he's doing acting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's I know that's kind of dumb, but you know, that's just kind of where I am.
So I think part of the reason you didn't see this is that you were confusing it with another movie.
I was. Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
I don't remember.
Hot Shots.
Right. That movie looks like it's bad.
I don't know. But
well, because here's the thing. Hot Shots is also the reason I didn't watch Major League.
Oh, because it had
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen, yeah.
Yeah. And so I assumed that Major League was basically just Hot Shots but baseball. And I'm like, I don't want to watch that. And it turns out Major League's fantastic. That's a really good movie. That is a good meat and potatoes.
So you're not liking a movie because it might be like another movie you haven't seen but don't like.
I am the perfect American. What can I tell you? This is media literacy. I don't know. Yes, that's exactly what's going on here. Isn't that awful? Think about all the things I've missed out on because I thought it was something else.
So what do you think Top Secret's about?
It's a spy comedy, right?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, it's called Top Secret. What else is it going to be? The whole premise of the show is that I'm going to tell you what I think this movie is just based on what I have inferred from pop culture and, you know, whatever. Yeah. I think that this is some kind of a spy comedy, right? And I don't know. Maybe it's like he got recruited to be a spy because he's young and good looking, and you know it's a Zucker-Brothers film, so you know they're making like kind of James Bond-y type jokes, right? I assume this is basically like, oh, we're doing James Bond. So it's the 80s. So I assume that we're up against the Russians because Cold War.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see if it's a spy movie and Val Kilmer. I'm sure that there's like some lady he has to bed, right? But it's a Zucker Brothers movie, so it's going to be kind of stupid.
Okay.
And
have you seen any scenes from it?
I saw part of a scene where he's fighting somebody on a truck, but I don't really know what that was.
Okay.
Like I just caught something on Blue Sky the other week when he passed away, but I don't really know anything about that. That's all I know.
I have a feeling you'll see scenes you've probably seen and been like, wait, this is that movie?
Really?
Yeah. I have a feeling you'll recognize a lot, but you'll be like, where the hell did that come from?
Huh. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of kind of famous scenes in it. It's not, like, I don't know. I think people liked it, but it was never a hit, I don't think. Certainly not like Airplane.
I mean, I feel like it played on cable.
Yeah.
Airplane played on cable, too, and I didn't watch it. So, you know, again, this is me avoiding things because I think it's something that it's not actually that thing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know much more than that. Let's see. You know, is there a love triangle? Well, it's a spy movie, so there's probably something, right?
Okay.
Like, you know, he beds the woman and her husband comes along and you know, whatever, something like that, or she's a spy and whatever, so something like that.
Yeah.
What else? Is there a dog? Yeah, why not? Why not have a dog? Sure. Is there a death? I'm sure people are dropping left and right.
Yeah.
You know,
All
just,
right,
just hired goons.
All right, I'll allow that. Yes, someone dies in this movie.
It's hired goons. Of course, people are gonna die. It's a spy movie. Is there a spy movie where people don't die?
There should be. Yeah, people died in that black bag.
A bunch of people die in the.
There should be though. That would be a good challenge as a writer. I think screenwriters, get on that. Make that happen.
All the screenwriters listening to us. I can't think of anything else. Is there an angry dad? No. Is there a cool car? Absolutely.
Do you think there's a brother?
That feels like a loaded question.
Yeah.
Oh, is he like a twin? Is he playing twins?
Hmm.
Why are you asking if there's a brother?
I feel like I've asked that question before. It's actually not from the movie.
Oh, okay. That's nothing to do with the movie. All right.
I mean, it might. I mean, I could be just trying to cover my tracks now.
Dennis, you're not a person for mind games. No. You really aren't. I love you, but
fool you?
No.
Oh no. Oh, do you think the president is in this film?
Wait, when you say the president, do you mean the president being a person playing a character who is the president of the United States, or do you mean Ronald Reagan shows up, or do you mean somebody plays Ronald Reagan in the film? What of those options?
Any of those things you think happens?
Ronald Reagan does not show up. There might be somebody playing Ronald Reagan. There is, I'm probably a character who is the president of the United States, either fictional or representing Ronald Reagan.
All right. And I assume you think he wins at the end.
Val Kilmer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever victory is in this,
Okay.
you know, whether he's like, you know, keeping the Russians from bombing us or whatever the stupid plot is, you know.
So what do you think the MacGuffin is? Do you think it's codes? Do you think it's diamonds? Do you think it's...
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll bet the MacGuffin is like a secret weapon.
Okay.
You know, like specifically like a bomb or something. Not necessarily like a computer code. That wasn't as popular at the time. I mean, it was becoming popular. That's true, but I don't know. I don't think it's like he has to recover like, you know, a floppy disk or anything. I'll bet it's a weapon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other spy trope you can think of that might be in it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have like your typical Q scene where he gets to check out the cool gear. Mm-hmm. You know, I bet there's something like that they're gonna do their version of, like, you know, the weird gadgets and whatnot.
All I'll say about this movie is that there's so many odd choices in it. There was no way you would have figured out what it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, there's some very odd choices in this movie.
So you're saying everything I've said is wrong?
Some things surprisingly close, but some things.
Okay.
You're
way off base.
You've left the track.
Interesting.
But I don't think anyone would have followed this track, not knowing anything except for maybe scenes from the movie.
Okay. All right. Well, should we go watch this?
Sure.
Everybody had a 12 gauge and a surfboard too. You see them shooting and surfing near the Malibu, because it's totally bitchin', riding waves to blasting pigeons, and it's so neat shooting ski while you're riding out the heavies all day.
Shop at Macy's and love me tonight.
Well, I can't anymore because they closed the Macy's in Center City. I'm devastated.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what we're gonna do for the Christmas light show.
I know.
You don't understand, guys. This is a tragedy in Philadelphia.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, there was no way you could guess what that movie was about.
Okay, you're not wrong, because you start off thinking this is going to be a Cold War movie, and it's not, because they actually just want to make a World War II film.
Yeah. But also a Elvis Presley film.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think this is a bad movie at all. No, I had a lot of fun watching this. It's a very silly film. It's delightful. Absolutely. There's something very weird about it, though, right? This is a comedy. I'm not looking for like intellectual consistency or anything like that. This is not a documentary. No. It's like, I get it. I'm not mad. The only thing that made me mad watching this, not mad, but there is a scene where they go to the ballet and they're playing the Nutcracker, but all of the dancing and the costumes are for Swan Lake. And I'm like, wait a minute, why not just play Swan Lake?
I realize why I loved this movie so much. It's basically Mad Magazine. It's just like throw in every joke, and it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to like be of that time period. In fact, better. Just completely ignore it entirely.
Oh, there's no time period in this.
Because it's set in East Germany. Yeah. Which at the time existed.
Yeah, it's supposed to be set in East Germany. This was made in like the mid 80s. This film's a little strange, right? I'm going to be nitpicky on this. And this is going to annoy everyone. And part of the thing is, look, it's a comedy, right? Yeah. And I'm not looking like this is not a drama. This is not meant to be realistic. It is a parody of other types of films. But it's a little weird, right? That this movie is set in East Germany.
Yeah.
Like it's consciously East Germany, but it's a World War II film.
Right.
Because all of the East Germans it's just the Nazis. There aren't any Russians in the film, in fact. And the only time they reference Russia or communism or anything like that is at the end when there's a heel turn, and it's purely perfunctory. There's literally nothing about these people that is communist or Russian or anything. Like they're just Nazis. They're just Nazis.
We don't see any Russians at all.
Never. There's no.
It's just mentioned towards the end.
There are no references to communism except for like one reference at the very end. Yeah. Like they even have like an image of Hitler at one point. Like there is nothing in here that has anything to do with the German Democratic Republic or that's right. Yeah, the DGR or whatever. This is not, it is weird that they bothered to make this set in the, I guess, 1980s, except it's not.
But I think that's why it just failed. Like it just didn't connect with audiences from what I've read.
Well, that's annoying to me because it's not like it's a bad movie.
No.
This is a funny movie.
It is.
And I guess what I'm saying is I appreciate what they're doing because what they did was they took World War II films about the French Resistance and about they borrow a bit from The Great Escape and things like that, Casablanca, a lot of films like that, and they mash it up with an Elvis movie. And that's fine. Look, I think that's great. I really do. But it's very weird then that they keep referencing, that they're in East Germany and it's all about the East Germans and, the plot. And really, there's almost no plot to this. Like, I'm serious. Like, the overarching plot is that there's going to be ships going through the Strait of Gibraltar and the ships are all NATO. And, there's this fear that, like, there's going to be a weapon that communists are going to use against NATO in the Strait of Gibraltar as these ships are going through.
I think you did guess a weapon.
Yeah, I did guess a weapon. So I got one thing right.
Yeah, that counts.
They're trying to, I guess, stop them from being able to deploy this weapon to blow up a bunch of NATO ships. The other subplot is that, there is like a German general who wants to push reunification.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, reunification would happen by the end of this decade. So guess what, buddy?
Yeah.
And has that been good for Europe? I don't know, man. Things are still playing out.
Yeah.
I don't know how, right now we're in this weird space because the war in the Ukraine and now Germany's just like, I guess we have to rearm ourselves again. And now everybody's just like, oh, is Germany going to start having troops and weapons and everything? Oh, is that okay? I don't know because the AfD is sort of like gaining ground and like that kind of sounds bad. So the reunification of Germany, I don't know, jury's still out. But, there's something very weird about watching this because it does have this Cold War plot that they kind of just abandon pretty quickly because what they really want to do is make a World War II film. And they do a good one. Like it's silly. It's on the level of like the show Allo Allo. Do you know Allo Allo?
I don't know.
It was It was a British sitcom in the 1970s, made, I guess, by the same people who made Are You Being Served?
Oh, okay.
Not the same actors or anything, but it's like that level of, production and humor. And it's all about like the French Resistance. And it's just a farce. It's a very dumb show that I kind of enjoy. But, so it's on that level, right?
It's kind of taking, so Airplane was kind of perfect for whatever it was.
Yes, it really is.
And then you saw in Police Squad, they would kind of push the unreality of things further. They would have like they'd be driving Little Italy, and you'd see like the Coliseum in the background. So like they kept kind of pushing to see how absurd they could get it. It seemed like, and I feel like this movie just takes it another level, and it went a little too far.
Yeah, I think it does. Like, there's a scene where they're in a park and there's a giant pigeon statue, and a bunch of people get on the pigeon statue and defecate on it. And it's like not that like the scene is really drawing that much attention to it. It's just like these weird background jokes where you're just kind of like, oh, okay, guys, that's fine. But
and it's all stuff they did in Airplane. It's just that it's so wild and
well, I think because Airplane actually kind of succeeds as a real movie, right?
Yeah.
Like there is a plot, and all the jokes service the plot, and there's a lot of jokes in this that have nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, and
it's not that they distract from the plot; it's more like the plot distracts from trying to have jokes. And I don't really mind that in this movie because so much of it is fun, and Val Kilmer is a lot of fun to watch in this.
Yeah.
So this film's not a failure at all. Like, I don't think the fact that this was a bomb, it kind of surprises me because it's an absolutely charming, fun film, right? But I don't know, like it is a weird movie.
Well, it did come out like after Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters is a bit better film. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it just is.
I'm just saying that like there's kind of only so many comedies that can succeed in a year, and when you're up against Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's actually kind of a good point because like, you can have like say other films come out, but Ghostbusters I think would suck up a lot of the energy that a film like this has.
Yeah.
Because Ghostbusters is not a parody.
No.
That's a tighter script that has, maybe better performances. This feels closer to a James Bond film.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a good way, right?
You mean a James Bond film, 70s and 80s?
Exactly. Yes, a Roger Moore James Bond film.
Because like the 60s films still look like Hitchcock films.
Right. But by the time you're in the 70s and 80s, they look like 60s films.
Yeah.
And this looks like the same thing. Now, I kind of think that's intentional on the part of the makers of the film. Like, they want to ape those movies, and that's fine. I enjoy it, but it isn't, I think you're right that, people in the 1980s are going to look at this and they're going to say this looks too dated.
I think people on, like, when it came on cable, everyone loved it.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, this is fun. It's dumb and weird, but it's perfect for cable because, like,
it really is.
You watch it and then you're like, things don't make sense. I'll switch the channel. You come back, things still don't make sense, but it's still funny. So,
yeah, this is definitely a cable movie.
Yeah,
and I can totally understand why this was at home there.
Yeah,
as you said, you can kind of like let your mind wander in a way that in a theater it doesn't work the same way
because it kind of feels more like skits.
Yes,
like just a bunch of skits kind of run together. Yeah, it's just kind of set pieces taken from other movies and then just throwing in like a lot of sight gags. And I feel like it really relies on sight gags.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
It's mostly sight gags and parodies of other films.
And I think like the things that you remember most are the sight gags, like the giant phone, and the Pierre Cushing's eye.
Should we talk a little bit about what the plot? I mean, we gave a little bit, right?
Yeah.
In that, like, okay. So the idea of the film is, yes, there are these, ships that are going through the Strait of Gibraltar, and they're trying to stop a weapon being used on them, right? But the person who is being tasked with disrupting everything, sort of accidentally, this is very much actually, you brought up Hitchcock. This is kind of Hitchcockian in that he's not secretly a spy. You had brought that up in the pre-watch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's recruited to be a spy. No, he's not. He is Nick. What is his name?
Rivers.
Nick Rivers, an American rock and roll star. His music is very much that 1950s, 1960s. And again, we've been listening to the 500, the History of Rock and 500 Songs podcast. So, there's a part of me that's just kind of like, I recognize all the stuff that they're referencing. Aside from the fact that, like, I grew up with the Beach Boys and I grew up with Elvis and all that stuff. But, there's also a part of me that's just kind of like, well, now wait a minute. You can't just mash these genres together. They're not the same.
But all over the place, there's like kind of intentionally lazy.
Yes.
Like the French is lazy, the German is lazy. Like most of the German is Yiddish. But
yeah, which fits. That's fine. Honestly, I'm more thinking about my own reaction to this film and like, why am I overthinking this?
I don't know.
Because I'm me. And I hate this part of my brain. It's the worst.
I will say that the scene where so there's a scene where he's in jail and they bring in a priest
gosh.
And he's like saying his last rites in Latin. And of course, you recognize just about everything they.
Oh yeah,
saying.
Yes, because it starts off with in nomine Patria, Filii, Spiritus Sancti, and then all of a sudden he starts reciting the opening of the Gallic War by Julius Caesar. Omnia Gallia est tri partes. And I'm just. My ears immediately prick up, like, wait a minute, and then like eventually they just like devolve into Pig Latin, and I'm just like, like to me that's a very funny joke.
I almost want to see like our cousin Mara. Just see this one scene and just to see how like hard her eyes would roll. What is this boomer nonsense?
For the record, Maura is like 17, about to turn 18. She studies all the same stuff I did, but I mean, she would also get hopefully this joke, but also probably be annoyed by it.
but what interested me is that we've seen this scene. We saw this in Johnny Dangerously. The exact same joke.
Yeah, but this is better.
Yeah, this is better because it's quicker. They get it done faster.
Yeah. See, this is what I appreciate about this movie, and really, I think what works about the Zucker-Abrahams-Zucker movies for the most part, as opposed to something like Johnny Dangerously, is this movie's fast.
Yeah.
It tells a joke, and if that joke falls flat, it doesn't matter because they're on to the next joke.
Now, it was edited. I guess there was a 2-hour version that they showed at colleges.
No.
And then they came back with a 90-minute version. So, for instance, the scene, there's one scene where he's in front of his firing squad, and then you see this woman on a walker going to answer the phone for this, to call it off. And I feel like I've seen the scene that originally was where she answers the phone and then goes back, and then it rings again, and then she has to go back, and they keep kind of calling it off, and it was
like, I get the humor of she's very slow to answer the phone. Is she going to get there in time? But it's like,
I have to admit, I like this version
yes.
where it's just cuts. It's like you don't actually see. There's no kind of resolution or anything. You just see her walking, and then suddenly you see him on stage. And
see, here's the thing. I get the idea that they're going for in that joke, right? And the idea of like making her walk all the way there and answer the phone and then walk back, and then she has to go and do it again. I get it, right? Because it's trying to work on the same level as the rake gag in The Simpsons. But the thing about the rake gag in that episode of The Simpsons is that works very well because, you're not waiting for him to get hit with the rake. It just keeps happening, and it keeps going, right?
And it happens so fast.
Right.
Like, it's like such a quick and simple thing that just keeps happening.
And the fact that it keeps going is what makes it funny.
Yeah.
Watching a woman walk very slow, it's just not as funny. And so, like, I get the humor of what they're going for there, but the idea of making you have to sit through the entire thing, that's excruciating. And so the cut is perfect.
Yeah.
Making you sit through that.
It's like just enough to show you what the joke is, and then cutting.
Man, this is where editing really shines, right? And this is where you need editing and humor. And it's so much funnier to like just be like, here's the premise of the joke. You get it. We don't have to belabor it because there isn't like a payoff in belaboring it. It's like if there is a payoff, it's okay to make it keep going. There's no payoff here if you just like show that entire scene. And so they didn't, and that's smart. So Nick is an American rock star. I love the opening where it's basically like a Beach Boys song but with guns, and it's all about skeet shooting.
Skeet surfing. Yeah.
Skeet surfing. It's kind of a really perfect distillation of like American images, right? Where it's guys on surfboards and girls in bikinis, and they also have guns.
Yeah.
And they're shooting things. I can't go any further than that. That's the most perfect American image I've ever seen. And he's going over to East Germany to perform in Berlin. Again, there's something very weird, kind of funny about the idea of it's the 1980s and we're going to perform rock music in Berlin because they've never heard it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Jesus Christ. I mean, David Bowie and Iggy Pop and Lou Reed were famously living there in the 1970s. I mean, what are you talking like? I mean, yes, that's like obviously the joke is that they're basically doing a 1950s, 1960s Elvis movie. I know. It's
all because of Nick Rivers.
Yeah, he's amazing, right?
He lit a fire in them.
They're not just doing Elvis, apparently. Now, I haven't seen it, but apparently they're also parodying the 1978 Elvis TV movie made by John Carpenter starring Kurt Russell.
Weird.
Yeah, because there's a scene early in this film where he is having like at this big fancy dinner and he performs Tutti Frutti. And apparently that's something from that TV movie.
Huh.
Right. Is that not it's a little weird that they're not just doing an Elvis movie, they're doing a movie about Elvis?
Yeah.
Right, that they're parodying like there are layers of oddness here. Which is great. I think that's wonderful, but it's also like just not a reference I was expecting. And we'll get to another reference I wasn't expecting later in the film. So yeah, you have this whole like kind of Elvis, fish out of water, playing music in Germany thing going on. And he sees this beautiful woman at the restaurant and he contrives to like get her to be at his table because, they were going to kick her out of the restaurant and stuff. And so then now this introduces this whole spy plot of, her father is being held in jail and, he is a scientist. And we find out later he's played by Michael Gough, who of course was Alfred in all of the Batman movies. So this is, not the last time that they will be in a film together. Basically
in an underground lair too.
Gosh, you're right, actually.
Yeah.
And so, like, he basically gets caught up in this movie that at first you think it's going to be like a, Cold War spy movie, but it's actually more like a World War II, like we're rescuing a guy who's a scientist who's being held by Nazis. Yeah, the rest of the film just kind of spirals out from there because, it turns out that she has ties to the French resistance, which, again, if this is supposed to be the Cold War, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, it just, like, I know it doesn't have to make sense, but there's a part of my brain's just like, but there wasn't a French resistance. It's supposed to, but what time period is this?
So what it is, it's history if you only learned it through the movies.
Yes.
That's all it is. Like, it doesn't try to make any sense of it. It's just like, we're just taking all of our movie knowledge or whatever, plopping it in, and we're telling a story using that, even though it doesn't actually match up.
And that's fine. Yeah. I mean, look, let's be honest. In 200 years, this is what people's understanding of the middle of the 20th century is going to be anyway. They're not going to know the difference. Like, unless you go to like, I don't know, Bangalore University or something, some other, civilization that has actually like not fallen apart. I don't know. Pick a country with like a university system and like they're still around in 200 years because we won't be. Maybe they'll learn something about the middle of the 20th century, but it'll just be a curiosity at that point. It's like learning about the French Revolution, Like, I know who Robespierre was, but do you? Sure. All right.
In the future, the United States were run by a series of Jedi Knights. They were later brought down.
Oh, no. Yeah, that might be true, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the middle of a trade war. What is happening?
Yeah.
So, he ends up getting like arrested and thrown into, a dungeon, and that's how he meets Michael Gough, who is like professor whatever, and the father of the beautiful woman. And there is a very funny sequence of him in prison and trying to like escape from his cell, and it's all very like, oh, I can tunnel my way out, and of course there's just like a convenient crowbar in his cell, and all sorts of like what would you call those
Oh, the vents?
The vents, yes. Yeah, there's all sorts of vents that he can like climb through, but they all keep leading back to his own like cell.
It's very Bugs Bunny.
Oh my God, it is so Bugs Bunny. Yes, I really love how this is constructed.
He even does a beep beep later on when he's on the motorcycle.
Yeah, it's true.
Meep, meep.
Yeah. But this is also where like they get to the whole thing like, oh, is he going to be executed? And they do the Latin and the old woman joke. But he is saved from execution, and he ends up again, meeting up with the woman and joining up with the French resistance. And yeah, that's very weird that they do that. But one thing.
He meets the French resistance after meeting Peter Cushing in the backwards Swedish scene.
They need to meet up with a guy named the Torch, right? Who is some sort of leader of the resistance. And if they can meet up with the Torch, then he will help them break her father out of prison, right? And escape Germany. They have to go to this Swedish bookseller who is played by Peter Cushing, and I guess his last film role? Or at least his last American film.
Last American.
Okay.
I'm not sure if,
Yeah, I guess he did something over in England after that, but I don't know. So yeah, there's like a short scene with him, and it's a very weird, like intentionally weird, because like everything is done backwards. So like all the dialogue is recorded but played backwards, and at a certain point you realize they're moving backwards, and they start making jokes about the fact that they're moving backwards because of the way that they're kind of like moving books through this bookstore and then blowing smoke and all kinds of things. And
a dog walks backwards. A dog.
Yeah, there's
Movie
a
has
dog.
a dog.
There is a dog. And at one point they go up a fireman pole backwards and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun seeing Peter Cushing in this. Apparently whatever mask they used to mold like that weird prosthetic eye on him was the same thing that they used to build the fake Peter Cushing in Rogue One.
Yeah,
that's weird.
That is weird.
That's very weird that they did that. Because especially if you watch this film and you see the weird prosthetic eye that they have on him, it's kind of weird that that's what they used.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't like again, we brought up Rogue One recently. I kind of like Rogue One, but I don't like how they did the whole.
No.
Yeah, they should have just recast anyway. Yeah, they get together with the resistance, and she has to give like her whole backstory about well, it turns out she has like this secret like love that she had before she met Nick, and they do a parody of the Blue Lagoon of all things.
Yeah.
Like the Blue Lagoon? Was it big though?
Yeah.
Was that a big film?
It was known, I guess.
Yeah, it was known by me. I saw it when I was 10 on cable. I should not have seen that film. No. That was inappropriate.
It's definitely a big cable movie.
Yeah, it sure was. Obviously, my mother was asleep when I saw that. But so yeah, it was very weird watching this and be like, is this a Blue Lagoon parody? And then like both my mother and sister going, oh yeah. And I'm just like, why have you seen that film? You shouldn't be watching that movie. Yeah, that's not a good film.
I feel like there was a lot of
references to that film.
Yeah, like a lot of jokes.
Yeah, because people are pervs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, people should not feel good about that.
No.
And so then, yes, of course, it turns out the Torch is her secret, lost love from the Blue Lagoon parody. He's the leader of the resistance. And so, they concoct this whole scheme to get her father out of prison. And then we have kind of like I guess it's like parodying like The Dirty Dozen and The Great Escape. And, there's like a lot of those movies kind of being worked in here. One thing that was kind of weird watching this is one of the members of the French resistance is played by the actor Jim Carter, who I know from like a lot of BBC television, but also Downton Abbey, where he is the head butler.
Oh.
Right? But
okay.
He's been in
I was wondering why you guys were...
Yeah, right. He plays Carson,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's been in a lot of things, like Shakespeare in Love, obviously, but he Cranford, a lot of he's been in like a ton of stuff. But it was a little funny watching this and just being like, oh yeah, there's Carson the butler, but much younger and skinnier. So yeah, age does that to all of us, doesn't it? I say as I put on another 10 pounds. Anyway, then we have like this whole sequence of getting them out, and like there's a very funny thing of two of the guys are being disguised as a cow in order to like wander into this prison camp, which is in a castle. And I'm kind of amazed that they got a cow to put boots on. Like I know that like there's no soles on their feet, but like again, they made a cow wear boots.
They did.
It's very funny, but it's also like, how'd they do that? That's a really well-trained cow.
It's like Velcroed on or something.
Yeah, but like the cow is really well-trained. That's a good acting cow. Yeah. I hope they had more roles.
Yeah.
And of course there ends up being like a bull rape joke because, that's, God, they loved that in the 80s, didn't they?
They sure
Hey,
did.
an animal is going to like force itself on you, and oh God, this is not the only time I've seen that joke in a film from that time period. I mean, I love the movie Trading Places, but there is an ape rape joke.
There is.
I mean, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
God. Just like the East German women's athletic team joke is really gross. You know, like, and it was, you know, very prominent at that time. Everybody was making jokes like, "Oh, those are all really men," and like, I really don't want to impact that joke because it sucks. It's just a really bad joke, and I don't like it. But it's a very common joke of that time period.
Yep.
So we'll just leave it there. As well as the cow sucking on the udder joke, and also, you know, the implications of that. But anyway, so yeah, you know, it turns out, unfortunately, that the Torch, who was also Nigel, our lead lady's, you know, long lost love, he turns out to actually be a mole the whole time, and he is secret. You know, he was actually had been rescued by like Russians, and now he's like a communist. And this is like the only reference to communism in the whole film. Yeah. So it's very like perfunctory that it's in there. He could easily have just been a Nazi the whole time, and it would have been the same movie. And it like they literally did not need to reference. Yeah, I read Marx and Engels and like
L. Ron Hubbard
that they throw in for some reason. And yeah, I mean it's like whatever. That, you know, fine. This is 1980s, I guess. So, I mean, is this movie set in the 1980s? Not really. So like fine, whatever. But yeah, so they end up, you know, he goes after Nigel. So Nick goes after Nigel in a whole chase scene, and like, you know, he kidnaps the chick Hillary. Yeah. You know, I never named her this whole time. Hillary. Mm-hmm. He kidnaps her, and you know they're on a truck, and so you have this actually pretty cool fight sequence of Nigel is driving the truck, and Nick is hanging on the side and fighting him, and it basically it's Indiana Jones. Yeah. I mean, it's just Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If you're gonna steal from the best. And they do. It's actually kind of a fun fight sequence. And there's some really fun little acting from Val Kilmer in this thing, you know, especially like when he like gets hit in the face and he like shakes his head and stuff. It's like, it's really well done. But you know, at some point, like they end up in the water, and then they have a fight underwater. Yeah. This is great.
It is.
This makes the film for me, right? No, I'm serious. Like a lot of this film is very fun through the whole thing, but there is a long underwater fight sequence set in a saloon that for some reason there's a saloon at the bottom of this German river or lake, whatever, which, because why not? It's a dumb movie and it's a lot of fun, but it's really well done. You know, like they are definitely underwater this whole time, and obviously they had to keep coming up for air and whatever, but it's so well edited and it's so well performed.
I like the one visual gag where Nigel tries to shoot at him and the bartender like hits him with a bottle. Yeah. And then you see Nick like moving away from like the bullet that's obviously going slow through the water. Like, such a fun little.
That's such a good joke. Yeah. God. It is one of the best little fight sequences I've ever seen in a film, just because it's really funny and it knows how to use the physics of being underwater.
And you see like there's all these like card players, and like their hats are kind of held together over their heads by string and stuff. And, yeah, it's fun.
It's so well done.
Yeah.
But so yeah, he defeats Nigel, and comes, you know, next thing you know, they're back up on the surface, and you know they've rescued her father.
His hair is magically dry again.
Of course, you know. Have you ever seen an American with wet hair? Yeah.
But
maybe Peter Parker.
But it's like every possible chance they can do a visual gag, they quick do it immediately.
Yeah.
It's like.
So they've rescued her father, and they're going to escape in a plane to America. And you know,
there's a Casablanca scene at the end.
Of course, there's a Casablanca scene, and you know, but there's also a Wizard of Oz scene where she's saying goodbye to the French Resistance, and then she's like talking to them like it's the end of the Wizard of Oz, and then of course the Scarecrow shows up because, you know, here's my question for you.
What?
Is it enough to be playing out that scene, and we know that they're basically just referencing the end of The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy is saying goodbye to everyone? Do they have to throw the Scarecrow in at the end for the people who don't get the joke?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Why not?
Well, because I'm watching them like, well, yeah, I caught the joke. I don't need to have the Scarecrow there.
I feel like each scene has to end ridiculously, kind of. I think that's how they measure it. Like, they don't want to be too subtle.
I mean, it's not a solo film to begin with, and I don't expect it to be, but like, I guess it's the question of...
Like, I think there's other jokes where they're fine if you missed it. you'll catch it the next time. I mean, this is the last joke. You got to get in what you can get in.
Maybe. I think maybe your point that this is the last joke of the film might be right. But I don't know. They didn't have to sit there and like put up on the screen. By the way, we're actually just quoting Julius Caesar here. We're not actually doing a Latin prayer. Like, you didn't have to explain that joke. If you got the joke, you got the joke, right? Do you have to have the scarecrow at the end of her saying goodbye to everyone so that you get the joke?
Yep, you do.
I don't know.
But,
it doesn't ruin the film or anything, but I'm just like, yeah, but I already got the joke.
We skipped the one joke at the end where she's saying like I have to stay here as long as people are being oppressed by an iron boot or something, and as long as an actor can be elected president,
yeah,
I have to keep fighting.
They do have like an anti-Reagan joke in here, which is funny given how later I think like they all turned pretty right wing.
Yeah, well, one of them turned very right wing.
Yeah, so it's weird that they have an anti-Reagan joke in here, given where things go. I appreciated it.
Yeah, but like I said, this is Mad Magazine territory. That's
True.
All they did.
And that is the end of the film. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's a lot of very well done jokes. And Val Kilmer's a lot of fun in this. He is very good in the role of, I'm basically playing Elvis.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was his first film. I didn't know this was actually.
They saw him in a play with like Sean Penn.
It's interesting to go from this, and then like a year later he would do Real Genius, and he's great in Real Genius. Yeah, and you can I think he's still finding his feet here. Like I think he's doing a really great job doing basically what if Elvis was in a comedy. Yeah, and actually could be funny.
For me, the flaw in the movie is the percentage of Elvis to Cold War whatever film that they're trying to do. It's like they were so confused as to what the main structure of the film was that they just lost it. We should mention Omar Sharif was in it.
Oh God, I never even brought up Omar Sharif. It's a little weird because they do drop him about a quarter to a third of the way through the film, but when he's in it, he's good.
Yeah, they milk their guest stars.
So that was Top Secret, starring Val Kilmer, Lucy Gutteridge, Christopher Villiers, Billy J. Mitchell, Jeremy Kemp, Peter Cushing, Michael Gough, Jim Carter. Who else? There's definitely people in this that I've seen in other things. It's mostly a lot of British actors, I think. Yeah. Written by Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, Jerry Zucker, and Martyn Burke, and directed by Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker.
The World War II plot is from a movie called The Conspirators.
Oh, okay.
It's that stars.
I've never seen The Conspirators.
Yeah, it stars Hedy Lamarr and Paul Henreid, and features Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre. So it's a lot of the. It came out in '44 and is kind of trying to build on the Casablanca thing. It's like they make this movie Casablanca, and then they just kept trying to remake it. And
well, yeah, I mean, it's a bit like, was it To Have or Not Have Not? That's kind of like a remake of Casablanca, but set in Cuba or something. Yep. Which, not a bad film, but it's a little weird because I'm just like, it's kind of the same plot as Casablanca. It's got Humphrey Bogart. And again, not a bad movie.
Yeah. What it really needed was an Elvis Presley movie mixed in with
it. Yes. All right. You can follow us on social media. We're Mary VS Movies on all of your major platforms, whether it is, I don't know, your Instagrams and your TikToks, or why am I saying it like I'm an old man? I don't know either. We're on Blue Sky, we're on Threads, we're on Mastodon. Wherever we have a social media, we are there. Tumblr, it's Mary versus the Movies, and we have a Facebook page, which is also Mary versus the Movies. We are on, in terms of listening to us, we're again on all of your major platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review the show. We would really appreciate if you would review us, because then more people know about us. I don't know why their algorithm works that way. It's annoying, but so it goes. We are on Spotify. We are on YouTube, actually. You can listen to us on YouTube. We have a Patreon where you can help support the show for $3 a month. You will help to cover the costs of this show because, as you have noticed, we do not have ads. We are not on a network. It is just me and Dennis doing this in our home. And, it costs money to do because we have to pay the cost of the server where the show is hosted. We have to pay the cost of the Zoom account that we use to have guests on. There's also we paid to watch this movie. We had to rent the film. So if you want to help out and cover some of the costs of the show, we would really appreciate it if you did. It is patreon.com/MaryVSMovies. Do not use the Apple app because Apple is now taking a third of the money. And they are also holding on to any money for like 90 days. So like basically they're just squeezing us. So don't use the app to sign up. You can use it afterwards to keep track, but don't use it to sign up. Go onto a browser. We all still have computers, and go that way. But Mary vs. Movies. And if you sign up for that $3 a month, you get access to a whole other show that we put out once a month called Hollywood Avalon, where we watch Arthurian movies, and we have watched everything from Excalibur to Star Wars, Knight Riders to Bugs Bunny cartoons. If it is Arthurian, we're going to watch it. In fact, I just found out about an Arthurian movie today that I want to watch.
What's that?
It's a TV movie called Merlin and the Sword.
Cool. It
was made by Clive Donner, who also made my favorite version of A Christmas Carol, and it stars Malcolm McDowell as King Arthur.
Whoa.
Have I not sold you on this already? This is going to be great.
Yeah.
It's from like 1985. It was on CBS. It's a TV movie.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait. So hopefully I can track that down somewhere.
Hopefully we can find like a VHS copy that has the commercials still in it.
Yes, please. I hope so. So yeah, I can't wait to watch that at some point soon. Yeah. But yeah, like if it's Arthurian, we watch it. We watch TV shows, we watch cartoons, we watch everything. So yes, Mary vs. Movies on Patreon. All right, so I have not picked what next week's movie is, mostly because we're kind of in flux and, we're trying to work out some things with some guests. And so, will they be on soon or not? I know some of the movies that we're going to be watching soon are things like Newsies. We're going to watch Newsies. We're going to watch, what's the Hal Hartley film?
Oh, Unbelievable Truth, I think, is the one we'll watch.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, we've got all kinds of stuff coming up. I don't know more than that, unfortunately. So, I don't know. We're kind of like refinding our feet again after doing, kind of a, planned out, Dennis versus the movies thing. And now I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to go update our spreadsheet. But yeah, so tune in again, because we will be back, and I don't know what else to say. So,
okay.
All right. Until next time.
I know. It all sounds like some bad movie.